from the entrenchment of special privilege and tax favoritism, from the waste of idle hands to the joy of useful labor, from the prejudice based on race and sex, from the loneliness of the aging poor and the despair of the neglected sick. Come home, America. Come home to the affirmation that we have a dream. Come home to the conviction that we can move our country forward. Come home to the belief that we can seek a newer world. And let us be joyful in the homecoming. For this land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me.
My name is Jim Bradford, and I'm from Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and I represent District 27, and I'm a South Dakota Democrat.
Hamadak Yapi, Maka Ikilia Himie, Chante Washte Nape Chuzapilo. That's our traditional greeting in Lakota, and I shake your hand with a warm and open heart. My name is Kevin Killer, and I'm a South Dakota Democrat from District 27 in Pine Ridge, South Dakota.
Being a South Dakota Democrat means having a voice for the people who aren't very well represented in Pierre. Being able to speak for those who are interested in helping people and making sure that we have a quality education system in South Dakota and strong economic development.
Well, I don't admit this very often, but I actually registered as a Republican the first time, and a couple of years later, after experiencing Richard Nixon, I decided it was time to become a Democrat, and the more I paid attention to what the Democrats do, the more I knew that this was where I definitely needed to be.
Dean Shrimp from District 28A, Dewey, Zebon, Corson County, and I'm proud to be a Democrat.
My name is Karen Soley. I serve District 15 in Central Sioux Falls, and I'm a South Dakota Democrat.
You know, again, I grew up on a farm in Yankton County. My dad was kind of a McGovern farm Democrat. And what Dad really liked about McGovern, we had these conversations at old 1953 GMC pickup actually going to and from the fields. Dad loved that McGovern fought for the idea that that farmers are not only growing grain and livestock, but they're feeding people, feeding the poor, they can feed the world. And McGovern and the Democratic policies wanted to end hunger, not just make more money for farmers and ranchers, but also conserve our natural resources and do a lot of good in the process. And that just got me into the party. When I came out to Pierre, I thought, you know, I could probably be a Democrat or a Republican. I quickly learned I'm a Democrat. Democrats are the ones that are fighting for the people out here, fighting for family farmers and ranchers, fighting for the working man, fighting for small business. That's a Democrat, and you know, and I certainly was with the right party when I came to Pierre.
I'm Dennis Fikert from Aberdeen, South Dakota. I serve District 1. I serve Brown County, Roberts County, Day County, Marshall County, and I'm a South Dakota Democrat.
Hello, Jason Frerick, serving the State Senate from District 1, Wilmot, and I am a South Dakota Democrat.
Education and better health care in South Dakota are two things that have been a big focus of mine. I truly know the value of education, and I want to provide that for the kids of South Dakota.
I think what it means to be a Democrat is that you stand up for everybody. You stand up for the working people, you stand up for the educators, you stand up for the small farmers. You don't just stand up for big business.
Being a South Dakota Democrat means going to bat for the folks who live on the reservations throughout the state. It means to go into bat for the native folks who are in the cities throughout all of South Dakota. And it means having a voice for South Dakota, and especially the people I love, my own Lakota people.
Kind of represent what I call the middle, maybe minority class of people, and the poor people in the state. Basically, that's how I feel.
I believe the contrast between a South Dakota Democrat and converse with the Republicans that we work with in Pierre is that South Dakota Democrats really do care about people. We care about their families, and we care about their prosperity as they live and grow in South Dakota. It's very important to continue to fight for the families of South Dakota, and so that they all can continue to prosper here.
Well, I think politics affects the everyday South Dakotan because they don't know what's about to happen up here unless we stand up and kind of stop some of the stuff. So whether it's gun legislation or whether it's a funding issue, and it'll really hit them once they're enacted, and if we're not up here sticking up for them, they don't have anybody.
Politics affects everyday decisions that you make, your livelihood, your children's livelihood, the future of South Dakota. This advertising to out-of-state companies in countries that we're the low-wage state, that's not good for South Dakota. It's exploiting our people, and if we want them to stay and have decent lives, then we got to pay them decent wages, and I just think that's the most important thing for South Dakota.
My focus has really been on helping working families and people, and making sure that people can put food on their table and don't have to worry about how to pay for daycare at the same time as they're paying for medication, and making sure that they can make a decent living and have a good life here in South Dakota.
South Dakota Democrat to me is being open-minded, being progressive, and being service-oriented to the people that I represent, not only in my district but in the state, and to be able to listen. That's the greatest difference that I guess I see myself and others is being able to listen to the people that I represent in the state of South Dakota.
Hello, I'm Spence Hawley from District 7 in Brookings, and I'm a South Dakota Democrat.
Hi, I'm Peggy Gibson. I'm from District 22, which is Beetle and Kingsbury counties. My district goes from Wessington to Arlington on Highway 14. I'm from Huron, and I'm a proud South Dakota Democrat.
What contrasts us from our Republican counterparts is that we put people first, that we are looking for ways to make opportunities available for everyone, not just the big money, the big corporations, the big people who can write the check and make it happen for themselves, but the people who we represent, the people who are South Dakota, the people who live here, work here, breathe here, bleed here, and make South Dakota their home.
We are faced with a decision between two fundamentally different directions for our nation's future. One of those is paved with corporate welfare, a disregard for working class families, and the prioritization of rhetoric-driven stagnation. The other is a path forward, a path of progress, a path where healthcare is viewed as a fundamental human right, not a business opportunity, a path that seeks to create an economy that works for all, not just a select few, a path that prioritizes the future of our children over the record profits of special interests, a path that seeks to eliminate discrimination, not to institutionalize it. This is our path forward as a nation. The men and women in this video are on the front lines every day, fighting to move our communities, our state, and our nation down the path of progress. Join them and join me in continuing to strive for a more inclusive state and a stronger America. If we truly hope to change our state, to change our nation, and to change our world, we must embody that change with our individual words and our individual actions. I am Ann Tornberg, and I am proud to be a South Dakota Democrat.